Welcome to Championship Culture. Got a fantastic guest for you today. Coach Gene Clemons is the head football coach down at Jenkins High School in Savannah, Georgia. Coach came on. You haven't seen it on the YouTube channel yet, but he did a great video a couple weeks ago about the shield punt. And then we had a big discussion. All the air raid guys are going to love you because Coach actually did the no punt philosophy this past year, and we talked a lot about that on the on his YouTube presentation that he did. Coach also has a YouTube channel, the Coach Gene Clemons YouTube channel, and he has X and O football, X and O's, and some girls basketball. He's got all kinds of different kinds of videos that he has on that channel. So it's a great channel. Need to check it out. And Coach, it's early, and I appreciate you being here, man.
Not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. The alarm goes off, and I look up and I see the text from you, and so the email from you, and so I'm like, okay, at least I know how I'm starting my day today.
Well, good deal, good deal. Let's jump into it. 5 questions, and we're really focusing down on building culture in your program. So, question number 1: can you give a 1-minute elevator introduction of yourself?
My name is Gene Clemons. I am the head football coach at HFC Jenkins High School. This is my first year there. I've been coaching for as long as I've been an adult, essentially, and I've been involved with football even longer. Coaching, teaching has been a passion of mine ever since I was a kid. I think that there's no better way to communicate than to teach. I really live by that motto. If you give a kid a fish, he'll eat for a day. But if you teach that kid how to fish, he'll never go hungry. And that's what I try to live on a daily basis. I consider myself to be the perfect blend of old school and new school. And I look forward every day to finding new ways to be able to affect change in young men and women.
Awesome, man. And you just threw that young women in there. And I just briefly go off script. Before we started taping or videoing, we were talking about in Georgia, they have Florida's already done it, and I didn't know it, but colleges are getting ready to do it. But they're starting girls flag football, and you're in the exploring stage right now about getting a program started at your school. And we were just talking, and I'd never really thought about it before till we started talking about it. How getting a girls flag program started, what you're doing for the future of football. You're creating a lot of girlfriends and future moms that are going to be football fans and love the game. So, it's really an avenue to not only impact young ladies right now, but impact the game for the next 20, 30 years, because you're going to be creating football lovers. So you want to talk about that just briefly? Georgia's just getting it rolling, and you're exploring possibilities.
Absolutely. So Florida has had it going now for an extremely long time. It's pretty popular, and a lot of people even like it more than watching the boys play because it's fast paced. These girls are passionate. You can see the innovation that's come with the game in the flag football. And Georgia, this is their first year of officially having girls flag football. I looked up, I'm new to Savannah at Jenkins High School. This is my first year there. I looked up, and one of the private schools right down the street from where we are, they're in the state championship. They just won a state championship. Shout out to Calvary Day School, girls flag football for their first state championship. That's an excellent thing for the city. And I immediately went, well, why don't we have a girls flag football team? And so the wheels started turning. And now that's going to be my mission, is to figure out how not only our school, but all of the schools in our county can get involved in flag football, because there's so many young ladies out there that don't have an opportunity to compete, because there are only so many girls you can put on a volleyball team. There's only so many girls you can put on a softball team. There's only so many girls that's going to go on to a basketball team and soccer team. So giving them another avenue to be able to express themselves and to develop a love for football, because everybody keeps saying this crazy thing about, oh, well, in another 20, 30 years, there may not be football. Well, if these young ladies are involved in football, one thing you can guarantee is that there'll be football in the next 20, 30 years, because they will be the ones giving birth to the next generation of football players. And I think we were talking about that. Now it's almost a built-in way to teach the game at a level where these young ladies really understand the minutia. There's so many girls who love football already, but may not necessarily understand the minutia of the game. And this is a great way to teach it to them. And now with the advent of the NAIA coming in and creating girls flag football or women's flag football as an actual sport, is going to change the entire dynamic of flag football, because there's over 300 plus NAIA teams. And when all of them finally come on board, and this is a great way to balance out Title IX without having to take a men's sport away, you just add a girls flag football in, it's going to really make a difference. I'm excited about it for all these young ladies out here.
You got me excited about it. You know, I knew about the Florida flag football league, and honestly, and I got 2 girls, and honestly, I was like, oh, that's nice, but I didn't connect the dots until we started talking the impact that's going to have on football going down the road. You're creating football lovers now, and that's and you know, the hardest part of getting kids out sometimes is convincing mom to let their sons play football, and now you're going to have true believers because they actually played the game themselves. So I'm excited about it. You started talking about it, you got me excited about it. All right,
yeah, definitely.
Let's get to it now. Number 2 question: how do you define culture in your program?
Culture is the sustainment of a goal or a vision without me having to say it all the time. As you know, the head coach starts it. But if your head coach has to be the driver of your culture, then your culture never fully takes hold. At some point, the culture has to be continued on by the players, and that takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. So for us, culture is player driven, and it's coach oversee. We want to try to keep the bumpers on to make sure that the culture doesn't go off the rails, but we really want to set plays. This is what we're about. This is what we're trying to do, and now allow the players to reverberate that message down the line. So when the seniors leave, they've given that message to the juniors and the sophomores and the freshmen. So now when the juniors become seniors, they continue on. So by the time you get from a freshman to a senior, there is no what do we do, how do we do it, what's the expectations. Everything has already been done for you. And now as a coach, you just have to make sure that the message doesn't get lost or it doesn't change without you knowing, because as you know, if you take your eyes off culture will shift, just like it does in our regular everyday lives.
Good answer there, man. All right, number 3, and this is the big one now. We're looking for nuts and bolts so people can steal your ideas. What are the 3 best things you do to build culture in your program?
Well, the first thing is to make them know that you care about them beyond just what they do on Friday nights. Really, that's the one for me. Everything that I do is about coach them hard, love them harder. It's something that I learned my first year of teaching under Rick Marcella up at Bridgeton Academy. And one of the things that I've really held on to, I want them to understand, like, I am not going to be an easy coach. It's not going to be, hey, come and play around and not be serious about your craft at practice. But there's nothing I won't do for you. There's nothing that I won't give you that I have to pass on. All I ask is that you believe in me the way I believe in you. I have a saying that I can't want you to be more successful than you want to be. So if I'm pouring into you and I'm continuing to give you this love, to me, that's going to take care of everything else. I had a young man who blew his knee out this year, and in the game, it was the first game he kind of got how impactful he was as a blocker. He was a receiver, and he really understood that game, how impactful he was as a blocker. and he blocked his ass off that game. I mean, it was beautiful to watch. I was just counting the helmet stickers in my head as the game was going on about it. And that game, he blew his knee out, and I called him the next day, and I told him I loved him, and he told me he loved me, and he appreciated everything that I did, and he was coming back stronger, next year, and that's what it's about for me. That's the culture. They got to know that you love them more than what they do on Fridays, and that you value them beyond just the practice field, and everything else on the field takes care of itself.
Love it, love it. Do you have any kind of team activity? What's your big any kind of bonding activity? What do you?
So in normal years,
I know. And
normal years we
would this year. That
absolutely,
for you.
absolutely. So the truth is we didn't do any of the bonding stuff that I would normally do this year because we couldn't. Like, it just was too much risk involved. But the one thing I love to do is playing games. So going bowling, hanging out, watching movies. I like to take a tour. A lot of people believe that you have to that their kids have to go off to all of these different entities in order to get there to get exposure in the summertime. Well, I load them up in a van and we all go together, and we'll hit a small college's 7-on-7 or a big college's offensive defensive line camp. And we'll just take a week or two and just hit a bunch of different places. And it gives you an opportunity to essentially just exist with these young men. And as well as I do, time is where you really build things at. You spend enough time, you figure out what motivates them, they understand what motivates you, and they get a chance to see you outside of blowing a whistle or saying line it up again or run another sprint. And so that's really the time you get a chance to let your hair down. It's not as serious. You can have a lot more fun. And that's some of the things that we've done in the past to try to really get them to understand how much we love them and how much we care for them.
I love it. I always say kids spell love Time. You got to do stuff with them. And
absolutely,
the more stuff you can do away from football, the better you build that. All right, question number 4, and I know you're still a young guy, but there's younger guys. There's guys that this coming up year is their first year being a head coach. So number 4, what do you know now that you wish you knew when you first got started?
I know now that I don't know everything. At 26 years old, my first head coaching job, I thought I knew everything. I'd only been coaching for 2 years. It's like, you don't know everything. You don't. I've always considered myself a football nerd, and so I really do think that as far as X's and O's went, I had a pretty darn good understanding of how to scheme people up. I created a name for player evaluation. I had a good eye for talent, but I thought I knew everything. And if I could tell that dude one thing, it's like, man, you do not understand everything. You need to be humble and be willing to accept the things that you don't know, and just say, look, I don't know. And at 40, I get it a lot more than I did at 26. At 40, if I don't know, I'm just gonna be like, yo, I don't know. We're gonna have to figure that one out. Like, I'll tell my offensive line coach, like, hey man, we got to figure something out. I don't know the answer yet, but we've got to figure something out, or talking to my defensive back coach, the D coordinator. It's just one of those things that if I had known that at 26, first year going in, I feel like I could have, probably saved myself some headaches, a lot of headaches.
That's great advice. And I got news for you. When you turn 50, you're still finding out. There's still a lot of stuff you don't know. Every time you learn more, you find out there's a lot of stuff you still don't know. So,
lifelong learners. Lifelong learners.
Yeah,
that's what we are.
I think that's the key, is that growth mindset, that wanting to keep learning is a big part of it. Some guys get stuck where they are, And you know, the key is keep learning, man. There's so much out there, and you can learn from everybody.
Yep.
All right, so you did a great job, man. This went quick, but you did great. Question number 5. I know you're on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle so people can contact you?
You can catch me at all legitimate social media at Gene Clemons. At Gene Clemons, at GeneClemons. I've been on social media from the beginning, so I have my actual legitimate real name as my Twitter handle because it wasn't taken by the time I got there. So at Gene Clemons on Twitter, at Gene Clemons on Instagram, at Gene Clemons anywhere that you would care to try to find me on a social media. And obviously you can follow the YouTube channel, Coach Gene Clemons. Like you said, X's and O's, a lot of whiteboard breakdowns. We have one that just dropped yesterday, where I'm talking about empty PROs, pass run options, and I break down a concept of a pass run option where I talk about a fade hitch with power, with QB power attached to it. And so I think that was a really good one. I've had some good feedback on it already. But on top of doing basketball games, which is just something I love, that's my mistress, as I say. There's also plans in the works to do to bring my offensive interference podcast back at the beginning of January. I'm going to be doing an interview series called Winging It, where I get together with Coach and we sit down over some wings and talk football. And so I'm really looking forward to those things kicking off in January. And then just stay tuned because there's some other stuff going on. I also do a fair amount of journalism. Right now, I'll be doing some work with the Athletic in January. I just signed that contract, so it'll be a very fun, very interesting 2021. So
awesome! You stay busy, man.
I try to. Idle hands, you know what they say. It's definitely my thing. I try to keep them busy.
Well, you did a great job of promoting it. Any other final words? Anything you want to talk about before we finish this thing up?
This is going to sound crazy, but to all those coaches out there, especially young coaches, because I think we understand it now, don't go in with wins or losses as the mindset. If you go in with wins or losses as the mindset, you are going to be disappointed. There's only one team that gets to hold the trophy at the end of the year. So if you define your entire existence by whether or not you win or lose, you're going to be disappointed, especially because in most places, there are haves and there are have-nots. And if you're a young coach especially, you probably took over a team full of have-nots. And so if you turn your goals and your missions into something outside of just wins and losses, you can, regardless of the outcome of a game, if you met those goals, you can be satisfied with what you do and your mission as a coach. And I would hope that your mission as a coach is something more than just winning football games.
I'm on your back, man. I think that's one of the keys is if you are culture driven and process driven, then you're always experiencing growth and success. But if you get focused in on results, if you're results driven, you're going to chase your tail and be frustrated all the time. You know, the key is to getting locked in on the culture and the process and making a difference with kids. You know, that's why we're at the high school level, and it's about building people and especially young men who have no leadership right now. It's being leaders and filling up their toolbox with some tools that they're going to be able to use the rest of their lives. But it's so easy to chase them results. You know, we
it's
get
easy.
W's and we all want to win. We're all super competitive guys. That's why we're coaches. And man, you start chasing your tail and you're never going to be happy if that's your main focus. So man, you just nailed that one. You just hit a home run right here at the end. Right in the
I appreciate it.
Brother, I appreciate you being on here, buddy.
Anytime. I appreciate it as well. We'll have to, like I said, I'll have to try to get to you, man. Maybe get you on my Winging It pod. That'll be fun.
Heck yeah, man. I'd love to do that one. All right,
absolutely.
buddy. Thanks a lot.
All right.